If I could go and be making six figures and have a life of luxury and travel all the time and have this fancy car, and I had to replace this, no thank you. It is a big no thank you. Hello, beautiful, and welcome back to Gems and Pearls with Love. Today, ladies, I'm going to be talking to you guys about why I love being a homemaker and why it is so important to not only me but also to my husband that I am at home full time. Before I get into the video, I just want to make sure and say that being at home full time does not automatically make you a homemaker. For a lot of years previously, when I was a wife and even a mom, I was not a homemaker. I did not consider myself to be a homemaker, and it was more of a mindset change that has caused me to truly be a homemaker. And there's a video where I talk about that. I believe it's called being a stay-at-home mom versus being a homemaker or something on those lines. I will link it, but I do talk about going to that. So if you want to know more about that, you can check that video out. But I want to make sure and say that working outside the home, whether that's part-time or full-time, does not mean that you are not a homemaker or you cannot be a homemaker. I believe that every wife, and if you're just a wife or a wife and a mother, you are called to be a homemaker according to Titus 2. So the only thing is just that when you are working outside the home, it does present some challenges as you will have less time in the home physically, and therefore there will be a little bit less time and energy to do some of the things that somebody that is at home full time can do. So anyway, I said this already previously in other videos, but in case you are just now tuning into my content, I want to make sure and say that if you are working outside the home, that does not make you any less of a homemaker. That is still your beautiful God-ordained calling. I just lost my train of thought. I was going to say something. Oh, yes. I actually own two businesses. So my husband and I own a business together where I do a lot of things when it comes to that business. And then I also have my own bakery business where I bake things and sell it. So even though I'm at home full-time, as in I do not necessarily have to go outside the home to a building to work, I still have work to do here. And again, it does not make me any less of a homemaker. You can be someone that even is at home full-time and not necessarily have the mindset as a homemaker. Okay, so anyway, I wanted to get into that. I just wanted to kind of clear that up before I get into the list, which this list, by the way, I kind of just threw together. It's just things that was coming to my mind when I was thinking about why being at home full-time is important to my husband and to myself and to my family. But there's no order in this list, so it's not like I'm listing what's most important to least or vice versa. I kind of just, it's all over the place, all right? So, okay, enough rambling. Let's get into it. So one of the reasons my husband and I prefer for me to be home full-time is the fact that I am able to have more time and more energy for my family. If I'm out, going out to work and for 8 hours or whatever the case is, that's going to obviously drain some of my energy, and therefore I will have less of it to spend on my family. We only have so many hours in the day, and we only have so much energy to spend. Like, you can do what you want to do, eat healthy, exercise, etc., to help you to have more energy, get more sleep. At the end of the day, we are human beings, and just like our phone battery gets low, so does ours. So if you are going to be spending a lot of that time or energy in a career or in a job, if I'm going to be doing that, I'm just naturally going to have less of it for my family. So being able to use majority of my energy and time, because as I said, I do also have a home business, but being able to use most of my energy and time for my family is definitely one of the top things. Another thing is that we get to choose to do home education for our children. I say home education because we don't only just homeschool. When it comes to our 3 older children, they are actually enrolled in a school. However, it is online. All they do is they go into a meet for about an hour, and then they are free to kind of do their work on their own with my assistants. And then they just have the rest of the day where they're free and they're not going out into the actual school environment, which is just something that my husband and I do not want for our children. And I will discuss that more in detail in a future video. But being able to home educate our children, especially in today's age, is extremely important to us. And although if I were to be gone at work, it is possible in some ways to, I guess, to home educate. I'm not too exactly sure how, because then I guess it would be alone for a really long time in the day, which my husband and I wouldn't really like. But I'm sure we can maybe try to make it work. I believe there are people that do make it work, but it's definitely much easier with the fact that I'm at home for us to be able to do that. Along the lines with home education, because I'm at home and our children are home, I'm the one, like my husband and I are the ones that get to do the bulk of the raising up of our children, the training up of our children, instead of kind of having to split that task with teachers at a school or daycare workers. We are the ones that are influencing them, and we are the ones that get to choose a lot of what influences them based on what we allow them to watch, what we allow them to read, who they hang out with. We get to have a big say in that, whereas obviously with traditional schooling, I'm not knocking people who do that. I know people have their reasons for that, etc. But with traditional schooling, you're not really able to have as much control when it comes to what is influencing your children. So, the fact that we are able to raise them up and train them up with being able to have them at home is definitely very important to us. Plus, to be honest, we just really don't trust everybody. We really prefer not to trust complete strangers with our children, to love them and to nurture them the way that we would. Another thing with daycare, that costs money. So the cost of daycare, the cost of transportation is something that, because I'm at home full time, I can cut. Now, I don't stay home all day, every day. There are times that my children and I will, go here, or we'll go to the library, etc., etc. But at least we know that's an option for us. It's not something where we have to be doing 5 days a week. And it definitely would cost a lot less than if I were to have to go out and work. If I would have to go out 5 days a week to my job, wherever that is. Another thing is that I have the time and energy to make homemade meals for my family. And even if it's something that takes long, like, for example, one day we did a stew, and I made homemade dinner rolls. Now, homemade dinner rolls, at least the recipe that I used, took about 2 hours or so. So that doesn't even include the actual, how much time it takes to actually prep and cook whatever meal you're making it with. If I were to be out now for 8 hours or 9 hours or whatever it is, it would be very difficult to come home and do that. Matter of fact, I probably wouldn't be able to, because we would be eating extremely late. So being able to just have the time, and not just the time, but the energy to be able to really invest in making home cooked meals, to do meal planning, and to do all those type of things, and make sure the children are eating what they, they're not rushed. I don't have to go and just take up a freezer meal because I'm too exhausted, or because, it's late in the day. I have all day to plan out and to make good and nutritious homemade meals. One thing I love about being at home is that I am available to my husband, like, whenever he needs me. So if he's having a rough day and he's on a break, he doesn't have to be worried about, oh no, my wife is working, so she's not able to answer my message or my call. I'm pretty much almost always available. I obviously have a schedule of myself and what I'm doing with the kids, and obviously with the business work throughout the day. But basically, I can't think of a time when I'm not available to answer a phone call. If he sends me a message, he and I know that a message means that it doesn't have to be responded to right away. If he wants me right now, he would call, but I'm available at any time. I can listen to whatever is troubling you. I can give you encouragement. I can pray for you. I'm just available for him. without having to be it's telling him, sorry, I can't right now, the boss is on me, or whatever the case is. I truly believe that being at home, it complements me as my makeup as a woman. And what I mean by that is, if you're not aware, as women, we have 4 phases in our cycle. And there are some points in our cycle where, like ovulation, for example, where we have a lot of energy and a lot of drive. And at those times, you feel good, you're energized, you can go and you can conquer everything you feel like, right? And then there are times when we're like, let's say our luteal phase now, right before menstruation, or even menstruation in and of itself, our energies are so much lower. We do not have the drive to do that. And then on top of it, you may have a wide variety of symptoms. So the honestly, when I am going through, I would say, my late luteal phase, or even my beginning of my menstruation, and having like horrible migraine, going through nausea, going through, there's times when I have lightheadedness, etc. And then obviously menstruation happens. There's some months where I have really horrible cramps. Knowing that I don't have to like try to like push myself to go out the door to go to work, knowing that although I still have obligations at home with the children and I can't like lay in bed or lay on the couch all day, I can still take it slow. I can choose to minimize what I have on my to-do list that day. And I actually arrange things in a way where at certain times in my cycle, I have things where my list is lighter. I don't do as much things. I make time for rest. Obviously, as different areas where you might be in life, different stages and seasons you are in life, things are going to be different. So with a young baby, this would be a lot more difficult, especially if I didn't have my older children to help out with the young baby. But where I am right now, the season I'm in, I have older children. My older children are one's turning 14 soon, and then the other one just turned 12. So they are very helpful with the 2 younger ones. And they know that they have no problem sitting down and playing with their siblings and keep an eye on them while if I need to take a quick 15-minute nap. So I can do that. I have the freedom to be able to just allow myself to give myself what it needs, give myself the rest and the break that it needs. I also have something called PMDD. If you do not know what that is, long story short, it's pretty much like a very more severe version of PMS. So it's a lot more symptoms, and how severe it is just a lot. It's a lot more severe. So that comes with a lot more physical symptoms, and also even emotional symptoms. So there's a lots of lows, and some months very low lows that I honestly like. I am in a support group for PMDD, and some of the things that I hear these women have to go through, a lot of them have a hard time even keeping the jobs that they have. A lot of them end up even quitting certain times of their cycle, or sometimes they even end up getting fired for extreme tiredness that you literally fall asleep on the job, because this is more than just a regular, I only slept a few hours last night. This is extreme tiredness. You can go through lightheadedness. Your moods is like, yeah. So it's, anyway, you can do research on it if you're interested to learn more about it. But basically, it is definitely something where, again, whenever I'm going through those times and it affects you during your little phase, whenever I'm going through the times, again, I'm so thankful that I don't have to be like, hey, boss, can I get a day off, or can I go, have a minute to go in the washroom and cry. Like I have that freedom and that safety of being in my home to be able to just be. On the lines of what I was just saying, the fact that the only boss I really had to answer to is a man that loves me to death. Like, instead of having to answer to a boss or beg a boss to I have to go home because my kids are sick, or because I'm going through whatever I'm going through. Like, the only person that I really have as a boss is the man that is my husband, which loves and adores me, obviously, besides my Heavenly Father. So that is a big plus for me, not being able to have to answer to any other boss. Freedom. Freedom, freedom, freedom. Freedom is one of the biggest things for me that I love about homemaking, and a lot of things that I already even talked about, and even maybe some things I may talk about next, kind of ties into that. But being able to have the freedom to, like, I get to make my own schedule. Nobody tells me when to clock in and when to clock out. I am the one that gets to make my own schedule, and if I realize it's not working for myself, or if it's not working for my children, then I can change it. Like, just being able to have that freedom and that flexibility, as I already told you guys, I have businesses, so I schedule in when I'm going to be working on this or when I'm going to be working on that, and I get to decide what I'm doing, when I'm doing it, and just having that freedom, honestly, it's priceless. You cannot put a price tag on the level of freedom you get to have. Because of that freedom, as I already said, I get to rest when I need to rest. I don't need to be told that you only have a 15 or 30-minute break. I can take as long as I need. And I have the freedom to pursue my hobbies. I love to read. I love to bake. I love to write. I love going out in the nature, walks. I love water. So anywhere there's a pond, a lake, a beach, a waterfall, count me in. I am like obsessed with like water. So being able to have the freedom to just go into my hobbies, I can learn new things. Right now I'm learning 2 different languages, and I like to be doing something educational for myself. So when my kids are usually doing something educational, which even in the summer I have them have time, even if it's just an hour or so, where they're doing something to feed their mind, they're reading, they're learning about something. I also like to take the time to learn about something as well, whether that's something in psychology, which I love the topic of psychology, or whatever it is. I get to continually be educating myself, teaching myself things, learning a new skill, just advancing myself about things like, because I love to bake, pushing myself to bake something that's really complicated, really hard that I haven't done before. I get to have that freedom and that time to just do that. And you know what? Not only just about getting the things you need to get done, your to-do list or whatever, but even having time to just rest. In today's society, we have this thing where we feel like we have to keep going. We have to be doing something. No, I have time to just be. And I had to remind myself that, because even for me, sometimes I feel like, oh, I need to be doing something. What's on my list, whatever. No. Sometimes we just need to just be. I just want to just sit down and watch my children play and interact with them and laugh with them and smile with them and be present, which is brings me to my next point. And I don't even know if it's on my list, but it's my next point. Being present with my children, being present with my husband, just having that presence, putting the phone down. I have lots of very strict boundaries for myself when it comes to my phone usage, or when I can use it, when I can't use it. And just being present, my presence being there to see my children interact, to intervene and maybe teach them something, teach them how they could have been a little bit more kinder, teaching them how to love like Jesus. Being able to be there in those moments to do that means so much to me. It means so much to my husband. I get to teach my girls about being a lady, teach my girls about biblical femininity, trying to be an example for that myself, which for me, I'm still even learning, because I obviously never learned as a child. I'm just learning now as an adult. So I'm still learning. So we're learning together, and being able to, to correct them with things, sit at the table with them at lunchtime or dinner time, and correct their manners. Just being able to be able to have conversations, hard conversations, being able to, and I know I'm kind of going all over the place, because this is about my previous point, but being able to truly get to rest my femininity and explore my creativity and wherever that brings me, through writing, through art, whatever it is, just randomly dancing in my home. Just having that freedom is, I can't even think of the words to explain to you guys how beautiful and how important that truly is. And honestly, I wouldn't trade it for anything. And when I mean by trade it for anything, if I could go and be making six figures and have a life of luxury and travel all the time and have this fancy car, and I had to replace this, no thank you. It is a big no thank you. Now, don't get me wrong. If circumstances were to change and my family needed me to go out to work, and when I say go to work, I mean it's gonna make sense, because meaning that it's not gonna cost me a whole bunch of money for daycare, and we have to buy a second vehicle and all these different things that's going to, where majority of my paycheck is going to take care, where majority of my paycheck is going to other people for them to take care of my responsibilities. So if I'm going to have to do a job that's going to make sense and something that needs to be done, of course I would do what needs to be done for my family. And that's not going to change my heart or my mindset when it comes to family first. But if that's not the case, and it's not something that is absolutely needed, I'm going to be home, because this is where I'm needed. This is where I am irreplaceable. My next point is the fact that weekends are free. And what I mean by that is, I remember growing up, my mom worked, and so because she worked, obviously, she did her cleaning throughout the week to kind of maintain the house, and we children had our chores to do. But Saturday mornings, I remember she would have music playing, and the house would be clean from top to bottom, because that's when she'd have the time and the energy to really do that, right? She was working 5 days a week. With me being at home, because of the fact that I am not obviously outside the home and I'm in the home, and I make it a priority to do all those deep cleaning throughout the week, I actually have a schedule where there's certain days I work on certain areas and rooms in the house, and they get those deep cleaning during the week. I don't need to have that big cleaning on the weekends. Saturdays are free to go events, to go maybe visit friends, to have play dates, to just hang out, to maybe catch up on a little bit of business work, maybe, because I know that for my husband, because obviously he's working, sometimes he does need to have that kind of time to work on the business and catch up on some things. But it's free for that. It's free for just fun. It's free for just enjoying ourselves. I don't need to worry about some big clean that needs to be done, because that was all done during the week. And then Sundays is relax. It's like we go to church, and then you come home, and we usually play a game together as a family. We do something. So whether we're watching something, or we're playing a board game, or we're doing like some sort of Bible trivia, it's just a time where we rest. A lot of time we end up taking a nap on Sunday. So yeah, it's a day where we just relax, and I have that freedom to have the weekends free for that, because all of that deep cleaning that normally would need to be done because I would be at work is already done throughout the week. And my last thing I have on my list is, I love the fact that I have the time and energy to plan things for my husband. So what I mean by that is, I like to do surprises for him. I talked in a previous video about how I like to set the atmosphere for him, and being able to be home to do that, being able to say, you know what, we're going to say to the kids, like, we're going to do something extra special for daddy today. We're going to go to the store. We're going to get a couple of, decorations or things, and we're going to, decorate the house, and we're going to make this special drink, or we're going to bake these goodies, and surprise him, whatever the case is. Like, I love doing those type of things. I love surprising him with like a bubble bath, like set up with a bunch of different things and stuff that he's never seen before. And he's like, what? Like, I love doing that. So the fact that I have the time and the energy, like the time to even plan and think about these things, and then to actually get what I need to get to do it, is something that I also really love about being a homemaker. Well, that's pretty much it. Like, the only thing I would think I could add would be, it's like being a homemaker is what makes me truly happy. It brings me so much joy. It's not something that I feel like, oh, the Bible says this and I got to do this or whatever the case is. Like, I don't desire anything outside of it, really. Like, I just love being a homemaker. I just love everything about it. It is hard. It is not everything what you see on social media where it looks all 100% glamorous and um like it's not. It can be very messy. It's challenging. um as much as I talked about being able to have the freedom to rest and do whatever the case is, honestly, there's also times and seasons where rest is scarce and you have to push through. Like, it's not, I'm not trying to say that it's this easygoing life. Like, yes, there's a lot of slowing down. There's a lot of that. And I love that. But that's because of the season I'm in right now. There were some seasons where, especially when I had my three younger ones and they were small and they couldn't really help with as much chores and stuff like that, there were seasons where it was rough. It was really hard, and I was really exhausted at the end of the day. But I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think it's a bad thing to be completely exhausted throughout the day. We have this battery, this inner battery, and it's okay to be drained throughout the day. That's why we rest and refresh for the next day. Um, but honestly, even before I was a homemaker, and before I even knew about homemaking, this is something I desired, but I just thought that I wasn't allowed to. I thought I wasn't allowed to desire it. I thought it's like it wasn't acceptable. It wasn't a choice. It was not okay. So I just kind of forced myself to think, okay, I have to go and get this career because this is what I have to do. So it's something I've always had this desire. Like whenever, even from the moment I got a taste of being a stay-at-home mom, I was just kind of hooked, but I never admitted it to myself or to others. So I'm so grateful to be living my dream life. Really, I truly feel like I'm living my dream life, and yeah, I wouldn't desire anything more than this. But anyhow, I just want to thank you all very much for watching, and let me know if you are a homemaker. What do you love about being a homemaker? Whether you are a homemaker because you're home, blah. Whether you are a homemaker that is home full time or you are a homemaker that works, what do you love about it? And yeah, that's it, guys. Until next time, bye bye.